Hey, I'm Morgan, and this is Paul, and we're excited to be here today talking with Tanner McBride from Kryptik, the creator of Kryptik TCG.
What is up, everybody? Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome, man. We're excited to have you here today and talk about this new TCG. Kickstarter is about to go live on the 15th.
All right, buddy, to start off, man, why in general should people be excited for Kryptik? What's going on?
Well, I think that people of all kinds in the TCG community should be stoked for Kryptik because it gives you something new to play, something interesting. A lot of the mechanics come from games that came before people were even interested in the hobby, so people are going to see a lot of things they haven't seen before, and it's close enough to where they'll be familiar with it in a way that they can learn to play pretty easily, but I think it's going to offer enough interesting interactions with the cards for people to get stoked to play. It's easy to pick up, and all you need is a deck. No dice, tokens, or anything like that. So barrier to entry, very low. So that should get the players excited. And for the collector, the art is just absolutely beautiful. And of course, these two people, they're on an overlapping diagram where, most people are some of one, some of the other. But collectors, I would say, should be stoked because the art is absolutely beautiful. And the chase elements that we're going to build into this sealed product, I think is really cool. I think people are going to super appreciate the different tiers of chase that they can find in our sealed products. So I think overall the community should be stoked and will be stoked as soon as they find out about it.
What sets Kryptik TCG apart from other TCGs?
I would say in general the gameplay is familiar enough in that you obviously use your cards and your citizen cards to defeat your opponent, but the way we keep track of life is unique. And the way we give the losing player card advantage during the gameplay is unique. So it actually creates an environment where the games are very close typically, and no one can just steamroll their opponent. And I think other than that, the art sets us apart. I mean, we have some extremely elite, very amazing artists, more that we're going to announce during the campaign that are some names you've probably heard of, but I cherry-picked some of the most badass artists I could find on the internet and worked with them. So I think as far as the art goes, we're a notch above a lot of games. I don't like to talk smack about other games or anything, but you asked me what was different, so the art is incredible. And I would say something where we really strive to be different and strive to be elite is in our lore and the way we deliver that lore. So the story of Kryptik Island is extremely deep, very involved. All the cards are individually named and have a place that matters on the island, and we're working on ways to deliver that to the community, but I think that above all else, I think our lore is just on a whole nother level.
That's awesome, man. I did want to talk about the art for one quick second because we did do an opening already on channel. Go back and check it out if you haven't yet. But there was some placeholder art that a few users commented on. What are you going to do with the placeholder art?
Some of it is placeholder, and some of it is actually going to stay on the set. And we're talking about the public domain pieces. So the way we approach that is we cherry pick public domain pieces that we actually wanted to end up in the game. It's a total of 14 out of the 150 that are ultimately going to end up on cards. And those are pieces that we built characters around and gave a story on Kryptik Island. The other ones were placeholders for art announcements. So you guys will see over the course of the Kickstarter, I'll be revealing the different artists that have not yet been revealed. You guys will see the art they made for cards, and you'll see which cards those replace.
Yeah, I like that you built it around some of those arts. Is really cool as well.
The art does look awesome.
It does. Fantastic.
Good choices.
Cards. Yeah.
It gave some actual vintage flavor and actual historical flavor to some of the cards and make it just feel like it's an old oil painting, because it is, pretty much.
Yeah, and people picked up on it more than I thought they would, to be honest with you. We had people commenting with, 7 or 8 different artists and the exact name of the piece, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't expect that to happen.
No.
Yeah. Well, some people will actually consider those to be their chase cards. I've already heard people say, ooh, I want those. I want to get my hands on those. So,
How can Kryptik compete with MTG's Commander?
we actually have a 4-player format that we developed about 2 months ago. We actually implemented on Tabletop Simulator. It's a 4-player format. We call it Crucible. So there's no actual commander card as of yet. We're still playing around with that to see if that's something we want to implement for our game. But 4-player Kryptik already exists. And of course, like Commander, which is the main format that I play in Magic, it is extremely casual and very fun and very political. So I think that that being one of the most exciting, fun formats for Magic players, I think they can slide right in and play Crucible, which is our 4-player format.
who doesn't like to play card games with all their friends? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the casual aspect is probably the most played in the card world, right? Like, so it's good that you thought of that stuff.
Oh, by far.
So we noticed the lore in Kryptik is really deep compared to Magic the Gathering. Do you continue? Like, how are you going to continue on with this?
How did you get to this point already?
Yes,
right.
Yeah. So the original concept and story for Kryptik was actually going to be made into a comic series that I was developing the story for. I started developing a card game alongside it and using the story to actually like create some of the elements that are in the actual gameplay, and they kind of ended up just merging into one project. So I actually created and owned the copyright on the original storyline of Kryptik, and my business partner, Dick Doc, he's urologist, so he's like a Dick Doctor. It's kind of a silly nickname, but he's actually a genius lore writer, and he's actually a world builder for like these massive, 200-300 person LARPing groups. So he builds worlds and builds stories, and he has just become completely obsessed with Kryptik and developing it. And as a business partner and stakeholder in the company, he wants to make sure that it's very juicy and very flavorful. So he writes all the lore text for the cards. That's what you actually find on the card to explain what it is or to give you a little piece of its story. And he has developed a very elaborate lore web in the digital space that actually gives you the story and all the relationships between characters. Different areas on the island, different groups and what they're standing for, like a group of musicians, a group of politicians, which is essentially like the NATO of Kryptik Island. He's really taken it to that level. So I think moving forward, he'll just continue to build on the characters we create. And we kind of give him these little creative barriers where like I'll commission a piece of art in a character that I like, and we'll have an artist make that custom from scratch. And then those will be his parameters for character creation. So it kind of like forces him to get creative and think about these interactions and relationships. So I think that process is super repeatable and very scalable in the future when we go to more frequent set releases.
That's really cool. I've been part of the Discord now for a while, so I've been kind of listening in to a lot of the people talk about the lore and just some of the interesting things I've heard listening to the community talk. One thing that stood out to me was I heard maybe that people don't age when they go to the island. Is this true?
So they show up to the island, they're plucked from their world by the overseers, and they're on these planets that were developed by the overseers to create these factions that are then taken and placed on Kryptik Island. It's essentially a giant world quilt where they show up and they have to interact. So that could be battling, that could be friendship, that could be love, that could be hate. It could be a lot of different things. And ultimately, after their 66-year journey, being that every 11 years there's a judgment on Kryptik Island, the overseers decide if they're to ascend in overseer status or remain dead. So I think as far as like them not aging, that's correct. They actually show up and leave the island the way they were. So they may have some wounds and some scars along the way. They're not immortal. You can actually die from battle or other natural causes on the island. But as far as their age goes, they do not age.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. This lore is really interesting. I really am enjoying it myself.
When we were talking about their pre-island lives and people started to ask a lot more questions about their pre-island lives, that actually inspired another idea. And that after the third set, we're going to do a functional reprint set with all new art. And they're going to be cards that you've seen in the first three sets so that players can get their hands on game pieces they need that have become rare. And the lore and story of those cards and the art featured on those cards is going to be their pre-island form. So you'll get to learn about who they were and what they were before they came to Kryptik Island and see what they looked like before they came to Kryptik Island. So interesting twist on a reprint set, essentially.
That is really awesome. That is a really cool idea, and it sounds really...
Yeah, I'm more of the collector in this relationship than
true.
Morgan, and that sounds really awesome to me that, it's essentially a reprint, but at the same time, are those old arts from the first couple sets, are they ever going to be reprinted, or once the revision basically comes out, is it going to stay with that card?
So this is actually something I definitely wanted to talk to you guys about. We're doing what we're calling the Noble Art List, which is really a reserve list on specific pieces of art. So the cards can be reprinted functionally so that they can be used as a game piece, but the actual art featured on certain cards will be sealed and never to be used again in future releases. So that'll be released during the Kickstarter and talked about during the Kickstarter as an announcement, but that'll be something that changes with each set release. So like, for example, the Overlord cards, Charlie, Duke Raka, Wolfric, and their art will not be featured again on a card after this set.
That's really cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Great.
That is neat.
Because it doesn't screw the players like the reserve list does. Things of that nature that are on the reserve list really end up screwing players that want to play those eternal formats.
Now, I heard you're going to be working on the next set soon, or already possibly are working on the next set. How many sets are you planning to release in a calendar year?
Currently, the plan is 2, but that's something that I could see moving to 3 within like the first 3 years of Kryptik being a game. Right now, we're going to do 2 because that's something we know for sure we can hold up on and we can actually deliver on no matter what. So we've already commissioned, I believe, like 30-ish pieces of art for Wicked Prophecy. It's going to be another 150 card set, and that should release in Q2 of next year, the actual release. We're going to order the print run towards the end of this year, so that means it should be delivered March, April. So we've already started to think about how we want to design the cards, but the team's concentration, and especially Q is our head of game development, he's concentrating heavily on tuning Genesis, making sure that our first set's solid. And then I'm handling the art and Connor the character creation. So we're starting to like dip our toe a little bit and get the wheels rolling on that project. But our main concern is, of course, dialing in Genesis. But yeah, like I said, 2 right now and then moving to 3 later for set releases.
Okay, what do you think moving on to the Kickstarter we're going to talk about the Kickstarter here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the best Kickstarter tier for the regular average Joe person is?
I would say you got to at least do the box tier so that you can experience like either a draft or sealed experience or whatever you're into, and you also get to see a variety of cards and card arts, and you get access to the box topper. There's going to be a bunch of stretch goals that go along with that. So the box tier is very good. I think the case tier is going to be extremely popular because there's a guaranteed pull per case. There's a rarity level that you can get once per case that won't be functionally different than the cards within the set so that people have access to game pieces, but it'll be a special pull card that you can only guaranteed get in a sealed case. So I think the case tier is going to be extremely popular, especially because it essentially comes with a free set of starter decks. So you're getting a couple bucks off each box, plus you get the starter decks. But I did make a tweener because I know that some people want to spend 100 and some people don't really want to spend 650. So they're more like the few $100 range. So I made a 3 box tier as well, which I think is going to be a nice middle ground for a lot of people. Because then you could keep a box sealed, open one for sealed draft, and then open one to bolster your collection and build decks. And I set up the add-ons in a way that people aren't forced to get stuff they don't want. So the starter decks and booster decks and things of that nature are actually more so add-ons than a part of the tiers themselves. So people can really customize what they want to get out of the project.
That's good, man. I really like that. Just real quick for clarification purposes, what's the difference between a starter deck and a random booster deck?
A starter deck is a 40-card deck that has 2 booster packs alongside of it. There's 4 versions, 1 for each faction, and those cards are always all the same. Those will feature the Kickstarter K logo like the normal print run of booster boxes. The booster decks are outside of that, so they won't feature the K, and they're actually going to go out earlier to the backers because I can get those made digitally. And in the US, our large print run is going to be done in Canada, actually. So those will be showing up more towards the end of the year, and then the booster decks I can get in like 60 to 80 days. So those will basically be 25-card decks that can be used for sealed events or any other type of just like go hang out with your buddy and play one-on-one type thing. And they also feature standard legal cards, so you're going to be able to use those cards to build decks for the standard format. And those are 6 different types, so there'll be 1 for each faction and then 1 for each friendly faction. So that would be Human, Mystic, and Ascendant Undead. And there'll be 3 versions of each of those. So there's 18 possible ones you could get. And some will feature rares, some will not feature rares. And that's just basically a hybrid between a starter deck and a booster pack.
One thing I want to ask, the free early bird mystery packs may contain test cards, signed cards, etc. Can you elaborate on this at all?
What's the good stuff, Tanner?
That's
What's
right.
the good stuff?
I think the chases will definitely be the test cards and the signed cards. And signed by who? I don't know. There's a lot of people that could sign stuff that would make it cool. So.
Oh, that's really elusive, Tanner.
And I've got definitely a lot of plans for that. I think the mystery packs are going to be a lot of fun. And they're going to be a good way for people to be introduced to the game, but also, get some really serious chase and collectible items out of those packs. So some of them will even be like versions of booster decks so that people can actually sit down and play. But some of them will be totally custom and hand packed by me with items that I choose. So it'll be totally random who gets what, and that's the fun of it, right? Everyone loves mystery products, even those mystery products at like Walmart that we know are trash, we still love. They're fun.
You're so right, man. I cannot help myself around those things, and it's just terrible. They get me.
We always buy them, and we're always disappointed, but we still buy them.
Yep. Yeah.
These won't be like that. These will actually be awesome.
Okay, excellent. That's good. That's good. All right. We want to ask if there's something maybe you could tell the viewers of MTG North about Kryptik that we haven't told anybody yet.
Maybe, I don't know. Because a lot of these are designed to be like announcements during the campaign to like get everyone pumped. But our first featured artist of the Kickstarter campaign is going to be MTG artist that a lot of people know, Steve Argyle. Nice. So he painted Liliana the Veil and Deathrite Shaman. So he actually provided us an angel piece to be used as an Ascendant card, Felicity. So you guys can use that. People will be excited.
Dude, that is really awesome. That is really, that is some hype news there. I like that.
He's a legend. I've got some other legends lined up to announce that I think are really gonna blow the lid off. So I wanted to start with one that was really excellent, of course, but I'm gonna end with one that's even more insane. So.
Oh man, I'm excited to find this. I'm excited to hear. Yeah. When does that announcement at the end during the Kickstarter?
That'll be a week from the end. That'll be around May 8th.
So not too far away. That's pretty good. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Tanner. Thanks, man. That about wraps up. Is there anything that you wanted to hit on that we didn't mention?
No, I think that people if you check the campaign, I was really thorough and I did a lot of like graphic work to explain everything really thoroughly. So as far as the polls go, the chases, organized play, distribution, all of like the hot ticket items that everyone's like really wants to talk about and ask me about are all going to be displayed graphically and perfectly explained on the Kickstarter page. So if you have any questions, just go down and scroll and read every word of that page. And it's really going to give you a good idea of like what my vision is for this game and this business.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate you taking the time with us. We are stoked for the Kickstarter. We're going to be there the first 24 hours, right? And get the early bird bonuses.
That's right, baby.
Is there a limit to the early bird bonuses? Like within the first 24 hours, say, if a number gets hit in the first 12 hours, then there's no more bonus packs?
Nope. I'm going to honor it for the first 24.
That is lovely to hear. That is excellent.
So don't stress too hard, but also make sure you get in on the first day so you can get in on the fun.
All right, that's right. So, if you guys want to hear any more of the Kryptik MTG, you can join the Discord. Don't forget to check out them on Kickstarter. And thanks, Tanner. Thanks very much for talking to us today about Kryptik. This is exciting.
Awesome. Thanks, boys. Appreciate you having me.